she is all dark again. Who is she? I'm trying to enter my Priscilla Presley era right now. I gotta order a bump it pretty soon. Anyways, welcome to In the Headlines. I am Sherilyn Dale, and I am so glad you found me. Today we are talking about the Family Feud contestant who has just recently been charged with the murder of his wife, and his appearance on Family Feud has gone viral because of his ominous answer to a question about marriage. Before we get started, if you could make sure that you're subscribed and notified to the channel, it would mean the absolute world to me. I have a new video every Wednesday for you, and sometimes even on Fridays. All right, let's get into the case. So last Thursday, police announced an arrest in the murder of a mother of three, 41-year-old Rebecca Bliefnick.
On February 23rd, Rebecca Bliefnick, a 41-year-old mother of three, was found shot to death in her home in the 2500 block of Kentucky Road. At 8:24 this morning, Quincy Police Department detectives and members of the department's emergency response team arrested 39-year-old Timothy W. Bliefnick of Quincy for a no-bond warrant for 2 counts of first-degree murder and home invasion for the murder of Rebecca Bliefnick.
Police who were at the scene described the scene as horrific. They said her body was riddled with bullets. She was found in her home in Quincy, Illinois on February 23rd, and she was found by a family member who was concerned and went to go and check on her when they realized that her children weren't picked up from school. She was discovered on February 23rd, but there wasn't an arrest made until March 13th. And there was a lot of pressure from the community put on the police force, and they had made several statements just saying, please give us your time and patience. We are doing a thorough investigation, and said, you know, we only have one shot at this. We need to make sure essentially all of our T's are crossed, I's are dotted. Dotted? Dots and holy crap, cross your T's, dot your I's. You know what I mean. Sure enough, they obviously found what they believed was enough evidence for an arrest, and they arrested Rebecca's estranged husband, Tim Bliefnick, on March 13th. Now, if you've heard about this case, it's mostly because, like I said, his appearance on Family Feud when he went on with his mother, his father, and his 2 brothers has gone viral when Steve asked this question.
What's the biggest mistake you made at your wedding?
Honey, I love you, but said I do. Not my mistake. I love my wife. I'm gonna get in trouble for that, aren't I?
Yeah. I was thinking about this and trying to understand why these types of situations go a little bit more viral. And I think everybody who becomes invested in this type of thing wants to see if there's a clue somewhere. You know, you go back into the archives and all of a sudden you see that he was a player on Family Feud. He had this, you know, interesting comment when you look back on it. I think I heard somewhere, though, that actually was the #1 answer. So it wasn't a stretch to go there and think that could have been the answer. And I don't think that it was anything ominous of like what was to come and that he had this plan for all of these years. I mean, going through their lives on social media, they looked like a typical all-American family. I know, like, what is that these days? But you know what I mean. All we really know for certain is at one point in that marriage, it obviously wasn't working out. They separated. They had been separated for a couple years. Prior to the separation, though, like I said, they just looked like a happy family, doing a lot of family activities together, even with their in-laws and all the cousins getting together and like matching outfits. One of the things that you really can see, though, through photos, and then that being supported by outpouring of memories and sadness and grief and love and support from Becky, who Rebecca's friends and family called her, was that she loved her 3 boys more than anything in the world. Becky was born on November 19th, 1981. She was a lifelong resident of Quincy, Illinois. And a pattern that I have seen her friends describe her as is just a light. As soon as she walked into a room, she just lit it up with her smile and her heart. She attended Payson Seymour Elementary School, followed by Quincy Notre Dame High School, and she was clearly very gifted. She was class valedictorian. Her family says that this was just the first of many academic and professional honors and accomplishments that she would achieve in her lifetime. She graduated from Quincy University with a bachelor's in biological science and a minor in chemistry, and she went on to a career in pharmaceutical sales and was said to be one of the top performing sales representatives. But for Becky, she always envisioned working hands-on in the medical field. So she actually left her job in pharmaceutical sales and started a career in nursing, which her loved one said was her true calling. She wanted to be the one providing the care, taking care of people. And I think that's really telling of her heart, because medical sales can be extremely lucrative. So if she's described as one of the top performing sales representatives, you're making much more than a nurse's salary. A side note, our nurses need to be paid more. But I just thought that that was really kind of a peek into obviously what her heart was. So she went on to graduate from Blessing Riemann College of Nursing and Health Sciences. And again, she received the Faculty Outstanding Senior Award. And her family said that she did this while she gave birth to her third child during spring break and only missed a day of school. She worked in a couple different fields within the nursing profession. She was in gastrointestinal surgery and then transitioned to the ER. And then during the pandemic, while she was relatively new to nursing, she worked as a travel nurse. Her coworkers said she loved starting IVs, loved the process of making a patient feel very comfortable, just talking them through it. And they said there was never an IV that Becky couldn't start if they were struggling. Everyone knew Becky was the go-to, and she'd even tell her patients, if I can't get this IV in, I owe you lunch, and I've never had to buy anybody lunch yet, so you're in good hands. In 2020, she was recognized for that type of comfort and care that she gave. She was nominated for the International Daisy Award, which honors exceptional nurses. And in the nomination testimony, it was from a wife of a patient who said that she was able to give her husband a kiss, which meant a lot to her before he was rushed into surgery, and tell him that she loved him. My understanding is that her husband was rushed to the ER, had to go in for surgery, and so she didn't have enough time to get there for all the prep and everything. And when she arrived at the hospital, Becky sees that she's clearly really upset. She just wanted to see him before he went in. And she's like, girl, if you're okay with running, I think we can make it. Like, let's run. And they ran together, and she was able to see him as he was being wheeled into surgery, give him a kiss, and let him know that she was there and waiting for him. So on top of being what is clearly a phenomenal nurse and care provider, she also made sure to make a lot of time for her church and volunteer work and being there for people in her life as well. I mean, there's just tons of stories out there from Becky's friends, her family, her colleagues, where she just goes above and beyond, gives her time, her generosity, energy, just so willingly, just to brighten up people's days and lives. They said she's the one that if someone was sick or had a migraine, she's going in, checking on them, making sure they're okay. She can take a load off for them. One friend said that she donated a crib, and then not only just, okay, I did my deed, I gave you the crib, I'm off. She stayed there and set it up for her. And it's those small things, right, that people don't forget. She also helped our four-legged friends. She was a volunteer at Homeward Bound Wagon. That brought me back. I was like, Homeward Bound, oh my God, I forgot about that movie. Jamie! They're a nonprofit, all-volunteer animal rescue group. And she was also just about to begin another volunteer service in the Springs, and it was for Quest Stables. And I guess they focus on providing therapeutical riding services, which was very important to Becky. Among her nursing credentials, she was a certified trauma specialist and a sexual assault nurse examiner. So she had seen quite traumatic situations, and we're learning more and more about how much these types of alternative or additional therapeutic services can do to help a victim get through traumatic situations. I think it's fair to say that extraordinary doesn't even really seem to give her justice. She just sounds like such a phenomenal woman. And on top of all of these accomplishments, her biggest devotion was to her family, 3 boys being her absolute world, and she was the definition of boy mom, her friend said. This woman would draw out and construct her boys' Halloween costumes. We're talking Transformers where the costume is transforming. Everyone was always looking forward to seeing, what Becky was going to come up with the boys each year. She's also the mom that never shied away from frog hunting, fishing. Every other update on her social media was something silly updating about the boys, whether it was something they had gotten up to, some fun that they had gotten into, some mischief they had gotten into. And based on what everybody is saying that actually knew Becky, this wasn't just like, the social media highlight reel. This was her everyday reality, live and breathe for her boys. I'm not clear on how her and Tim met. I know they attended the same college, and records show that they were married in 2009. Tim Bliefnick was originally from Decatur, but he ultimately ended up in Quincy, graduated from Quincy University, where he majored in criminal justice over 10 years ago. I don't think he really ventured into that. He went on to work as a manager at a recycling facility. And then on the side, he was also a community theater actor and had recently set up a TikTok account where he tells dad jokes and then sips his coffee. There's another either TikTok or YouTube where there's like a group of dads that do that. Big guy gets a kick out of them. Loves a good dad joke. Their name isn't coming to me, but it was kind of like the same sort of thing. I'm not trying to be biased or rude or anything. It was quite cringy to me. It's since been set to private, and I didn't laugh at any of the ones that I saw, but to each their own. From what I can tell, Tim seemed to be quite an accomplished football star in his university years. In 2019, he was actually recognized for that and inducted in the Quincy University Sports Hall of Fame. It looks like football was still a very important part of his life. He was coaching youth football, and it even came across a couple posts where he was assistant coaching or coaching at one of his son's own games. It's really hard to tell without speaking directly to those who knew them if there were any sort of red flags within the home. I think publicly the only thing that everybody can really hold on to at this point is obviously that Family Feud clip.
Not my mistake. I love my wife.
Other than that, I hadn't come across anything that showed red flags prior to the separation, but based on accounts of those who knew Becky after the separation, there have been allegations of threats coming from him towards her, and she took them seriously. She filed for multiple protection orders, and she was never ever granted them before her death. There were public records that are now sealed, but I came across them from KHQA News. And they said prior to these reports being removed from the public website, there was first a restraining order filed against Tim Bliefnick in September 2021. And it said that this was either through Becky doing it or an agency of domestic violence doing it for her. Now, sometimes in September as well, Tim also filed one against Becky. She then filed a protection order against her father-in-law, Ray Bliefnick, in December 2021, but that file was closed. She was never granted it in December 2021. And this is so frustrating and so tragic, especially when you just look at it for what it is. A mom who is described as this mom of all moms, friend of all friends, daughter of all daughters, just this phenomenal woman being ripped away from her 3 young boys. And for what? Tim's lawyer is saying that her client is going to be pleading not guilty to the charges against him. He says that he is innocent. She believes that because of the tremendous pressure throughout the community to lead to an arrest, the estranged spouse is going to be the number one suspect, regardless of other circumstances, she said. Now, there are, from what I know, several searches that went on in his home, and the police department had made multiple statements just requesting some time to go over what I'm assuming was evidence that they believed they found that was going to be strong enough to not only charge him, but have those charges stick and come out with a guilty verdict. At this moment, he is currently in Adams County Jail. During his last hearing on March 14th, he was denied bail, so he's still there. And from what I can see, due to the public interest in this case, court records have been sealed. At this point, we don't really know what those searches entailed or what they found. What we do know is that the Quincy police had gone to do a search of a lagoon. This is located near the Timber Ridge Mobile Home Park, and this property is co-owned by Tim Bliefnick.
Well, Mackenzie, Police Chief Adam Yates confirmed that indeed the search here this afternoon and earlier this morning was in connection with last month's shooting death of Rebecca Bliefnick. Now, this property here that I'm standing on is owned by TBRK Properties LLC, which is co-owned by Rebecca's estranged husband, Timothy Bliefnick, who stands charged with first-degree murder.
So the searchers out there were using strong magnets to try to comb through the water. My assumption is to see if they can retrieve a weapon. But yeah, that's basically where things are at right now, you guys. One thing I do ask is please don't go to the family's Facebooks and comment harsh things. Couple things to remember. There's no ruling in this case yet. There's just charges. If it does go to trial and he is found guilty, it doesn't mean that his whole family is behind this. Often these types of crimes are planned in secrecy, and they're even denied after verdicts to, family members. I've seen comments all over his family's Facebooks and social medias. One I came across on his aunt's, and the person was just accosting her, being like, why didn't you do something? And like that, it's just not fair. Please instead go comment some positivity on the fundraiser that is going on right now. There is a GoFundMe for Becky's 3 boys. My understanding is that they are safely with Becky's family, and these are just for, future expenses that are going to arise. These are three children without their mother, without their father for the time being, and that income and education and clothing and food, all of that, it adds up. I've said it so many times, families and surviving members of families of victims of murder, domestic violence, they're not prepared for what happens next. So you know what to do. Head on over there. Go send some love and support. There's no one who does it better than the Sippendales. I always like coming up with like a little hashtag, and I thought hashtag Becky's boys, something like that would be really cute. I don't know. Maybe you guys come up with some ideas and then I'll pin it in the comments which one we should go and flood the donation page with. I freaking love you guys so much. All right, this is it for me today. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It means the world to me. I love and I appreciate you so freaking much. I hope you know that. If I could jump through the screen and just freaking squish you, I would. All right, I'll see you in the next video. I will miss you terribly until then. Make sure to love each other, love yourself, and I will see you soon. Bye.